first memories are of Sunday mornings. My house was filled with the smells of bacon and eggs and fresh coffee. And my parents would be reading the newspaper. I'd come down the steps, get my egg crate ready, and start performing my gymnastics moves as they encouragingly watched me. And I can feel the house right now, just even as I speak about it. It was filled with a lot of love and warmth. And then little by little, things began to shift and change. My dad began to change. The best way I can describe it is he was starting to feel dirty to me. I would soon learn that he had a disease and he was an addict. Naturally, my mom shifted and changed too. The idea of a loving family with lots of kids, she wanted 5, I believe, starting to change and shift before our very eyes. And so the house that was once filled with love started to be filled with disappointment and anger and sadness. And so my dad would start to leave the house more and more, and his absence became more and more frequent. And my mom asked him to leave because of it. And I can remember a time he would come by and ask me to take money out of my piggy bank. I was about 5 years old, and I had to tell my dad no, and beginning to make some hard decisions at a young age, having to be more adult than I was really ready or capable of being. But there was times I really felt my dad's love. He would play a game with me. He would hold me in his arms really tight, and he would say, "I'm never going to let you go. I'm never going to let you go." And I knew he loved me. I could feel his love in those moments, in that time. I loved that game. But his addiction got worse. And so his absence even more frequent. And so my mom talked to my sister and I had to make the decision to let him go and not see him for a little while. And so the void of the relationship and all the decisions I had to make at a young age, I looked for things that I could control. And so I turned to fitness and nutrition. And I became a really hardworking, goal-oriented, striving to be perfect child. And that nutrition piece and new fitness was my outlet to do that. And so I tried every diet, every holistic approach, every modality. And what I didn't realize is I was seeking a path of health and what it meant to really be healthy, since I've seen so much unhealthy behaviors around me. And my weight would go up and down, and I would go from deprivation to gorging, back to deprivation. And so I was left really confused. I was a personal trainer at the time. I was gaining weight. I gained about 40 pounds at one point, and I was embarrassed. Everything I thought I knew about health and how to work out and how to eat, and that I was the problem, that I was the reason why I was yo-yoing and putting myself through deprivation. I thought I was the problem. Never did it occur to me that perhaps the tools I was using was the problem. And then around the same time, I was about 28, the same time I was going through all this physical challenges, my sister started talking to my dad, and she said he was different and that he was sober. And I doubted it. This wasn't the first time he had said that, but my sister kept saying, no, it really is different. And it was. And so for a year, we started to get to know each other again, and we'd have what I feel as though surfacey relationships, and we'd hang out and do different things. But my guard was up. My wall was still up. And one day I was in my apartment in New York, and he called me to tell me my uncle, who was 15 years sober, had relapsed. And that's when I really lost it. I had said everything to him that I had always wanted to say, I was hiding, that was keeping that wall between him and I, and pretty much laid everything I felt out on the table, which was if he couldn't stay sober, if he was going to hurt me again, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go through that again. And he just listened and just kept saying, I know, and then he understood and how sorry he was. And at that point, I didn't need him to say sorry because I could see it in his face, I could see it in his eyes, and the year that we've had together, that he really was sorry and that he felt just as bad, if not worse, about the way he hurt me, my sister, and my mom. And so from that point on, my dad and I started to have the most amazing relationship. We went out to everything from Yankee games to sushi dinners. I started to feel whole and filled. My mom and him could be in the same room together. He was invited to my mother and stepfather's house, and it really gave me a feeling of fulfillment. And through that, I could start to look at my other areas of health and what it, again, start to ask that question of what does it really mean to be healthy. And so I started to feel more peaceful and thought life was going to be more calm. But of course, life has other plans. My boyfriend, mother had had cancer 3 years prior to me meeting him, and he found out that she had cancer. It had come back. And I was living with them at the time, and it was really confusing. The effects that this disease and another disease has on not just the person suffering from it, but on everyone who loves them. And then here am I, where do I fit in, right? To support the person with cancer and to support those that love them, such as my boyfriend. And I felt very isolated at the time, confused, not really sure what to do, living with that. And how deeply people get affected by their loved ones having a disease of any kind. And so as I'm working through this confusion and feeling isolated and somewhat frustrated, sometimes showing up as anger, I'm down the shore with my family, and I got a call from my dad. And he said that he needed to talk to me. We knew he was getting some tests done, and he told me he had bladder cancer. I remember I fell to my knees and I just said, no, and immediately started thinking about my boyfriend and his family and what they were walking through. And it was hurtful. And so after many weeks, months of my boyfriend's mom and my dad being in and out of the hospitals and doing chemo treatments and going through all the medical system procedures, January 19th, 2016, my boyfriend and his sister rushed their mom to the hospital. She had gotten an infection, and because of her cancer, leukemia, she had nothing to fight it off with. And the next day she passed, January 20th. About 2 weeks after that, I got a call from the hospital. We had a family meeting. They wanted to let us know my dad's cancer had spread and there was nothing left for them to do. And we were to look into hospice care and start to say our goodbyes. My dad was in a lot of pain and so wasn't very awake many days prior to that. And this particular day, he had a few more hours of consciousness. A little sense of that spiritual, vulnerable dad was there that day. He never before missed a chance to tell me how grateful he was to have me in his life, and we talked a little bit about that again that day. And I was laying in his hospital bed and holding him tight, and we got to play my favorite game. I got to tell him that I was never going to let him go, and I held him real tight, and he did the same thing for me. Told me he loved me, and I did the same. And not to know that I was never going to speak to him again after that. On February 5th, 2016, I got a call, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., from hospice care that it wasn't going to be much longer. And so I was driving over, praying that I'd get to speak with him maybe one more time, but when I got there, he had passed. My boyfriend's mom would say, your health is everything. And it wasn't until now that I really understood what she meant and became passionate about discovering what health is. I do believe that everything in life happens for a reason. Because of my professional and personal struggles with the fitness industry and nutrition, I was looking for a new way. Rather than a quick fix, unsustainable program, I was looking for lifelong, lifestyle, sustainable health. And I found Body Solutions. 2 weeks prior to my dad getting sick, I joined the team and I was excited. And we started to implement this new philosophy, this new system for sustainable health. And then I quickly found out that part of our efforts is to donate to an organization called saferchemicals.org. What Safer Chemicals does is fight to get laws passed so that companies can't put chemicals into our food products, household products, and beauty products. These chemicals have been linked to diseases such as obesity and cancer. And so that's part of our efforts and part of what this event is. And I'm going to invite Steve, the owner of Body Solutions, to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Kian. It's such an amazing pleasure to be able to work with Kian in this. And I also believe everything happens for a reason. You know, what we do here is all about being sustainable. We've been doing this for over 16 years. And personally for me, the reason why we donate money to Safer Chemicals is because my grandfather died of cancer 7 years ago. So you would think with so many gyms out there and so many programs that you already have available that we as a nation would continue to be healthier and more sustainable health. But the fact is that's just not the case. And what we find by looking at the data is that even though there's gyms popping up everywhere and programs available everywhere, there's some alarming statistics, right? So recently, obesity rates have continued to go up. It's about 36% for adults and 20% for adolescents. And literally just living in New Jersey, your chances of having breast cancer is 30% higher than any other state in America. And if you look at specific cancer rates like thyroid cancer, it has skyrocketed 170% since 1999. And so we looked at the data and said, well, what is really happening? And what you find is that it can't be just genetics, it can't be anything else except the environment. It's the only thing that explains why there's such alarming increases, and it's the only thing that explains why there's a 30% increase just living in New Jersey, right? It's the chemicals that we're surrounded with. And so that's one of our passions, is to try to reduce those chemicals so you have the environment and the space to live in a healthy, sustainable state for your family. But there's other reasons, and Kian will talk about those.
Yeah, so beyond the chemicals that we're being exposed to, what about the fitness industry that I talked about earlier in the video? We believe we were given tools that don't work. We're operating in systems that aren't working for our bodies and instead are causing that yo-yo effect, extreme starvation and deprivation to gorging, because we've starved our bodies, and putting our bodies through these exercise programs that weren't meant for our body to be in. And then we do it repeatedly over time at high increased density and intensity. And so instead of thinking you're wrong, right, perhaps do we ever take a moment to think about the tools we were given? Could they be wrong? Could the tools we've been given setting us up for failure? We believe it is, and so we are going to show you other ways so that you're not going on that yo-yo effect anymore and you're living a more sustainable, healthy life.
So one of the things we're going to do at the event, instead of teaching you a exercise program and say you should be doing this instead of that, which is typical mass media fitness marketing, at the event, during the event, you're actually going to be moving your body. You see, unlike there's no chairs, unlike typical events, you're going to sit in a chair and lecture, you're actually going to be moving your body, experiencing health. There's a section that I'll be teaching where within about 10 minutes, we're going to identify the imbalances in your body, the deficits in mobility, your strength and things. And at the event, in 10 minutes, we're actually going to be immediately fixing that. And what we're going to do is just by evening out your body, you're going to decrease your risk of injury by 300%. And so this is more than just learning what to do. We're actually going to be doing it at the event, because we realize that it's the experience that's going to help you sort of integrate this into your life. And another thing we're going to do is we're going to teach you a movement program that you can do in quickly, unlike an hour in a gym or having to do all this time investment. We're going to teach you to get this much results with this much time that you can do anywhere. You can even do it at home. And so again, this is about how to integrate it into your life and about experiencing it so you can provide that inspiration to your family.
And another area of health is to have a community, a support system around you. In order to implement this into your lifestyle, you need some people doing the same things that are supporting that same idea, that same mindset, those same concepts. And so at the event, you will get a chance to meet moms that live around in the same area as you, who are seeking the same things, have gone through similar struggles as you have. And you'll get to forge relationships and build community right there at the event, so that once you leave the event, you don't feel left alone again, because you're not alone. We've all struggled with the same exact things. So at the event, you'll build that community, you'll meet these like-minded moms to then form relationships after you leave the event.
Yeah, and having those relationships and personal connections is so important, because in looking at a holistic way, in assessing, well, how does one get disease? How does one get cancer and illness, and your weight starts to gain and increase beyond what you would like it to be? It is more than just a tactical things. It's more than just calories and sugars and fats. There's something else the fitness industry is not touching upon, and that's really the emotional aspect of it, right? It's the relationship that you have with yourself. It's the relationship you have with food, and it's a relationship you have or maybe don't have with other humans. And sometimes, as being a super busy person and you just feel overwhelmed, you kind of feel alone. You feel like other people don't really understand how much tension and stress you might be under. Well, at this event, you can experience that there's so many other moms who are just like you, and you're going to get to connect with them and build this support tribe, so you don't feel in any way isolated as you're going through this experience of being an amazing mom. And that's one of our main intentions with this, is to connect you with other humans, to give you the tools that you're going to use right at the event, so you can start to integrate the improved sustainable health way of doing it instead of tools and tactics. And the benefit is, as you come, not only are you benefiting, your family is benefiting, and all the community and the entire country is benefited, because all the proceeds that we're generating with this event is going towards saferchemicals.org. And that money will directly go towards lobbying effects to get laws changed, so you, myself, Kian, everyone else in the community, and everyone in this country is being exposed to less and less chemicals. And you might be wondering, well, how is that working so far? Well, because of saferchemical.org's efforts, some amazing things have happened already in the last year and this year. One of the things is, late last year, a law was finally passed that says all new chemicals has to be tested to be safe for you and your family and my family and everyone's family before it is introduced into our products. Yes, you would think that law should have been in place forever, but that's not the case. It just got passed last year. And just this year, main marketers, corporations such as Target, have chosen, because of lobbying efforts, to not use certain products with harmful chemicals, right? And so this is a way to literally, from top down, protect you and your family from the chemicals that are directly linked to horrendous diseases that we're dealing with. And so I invite you to join in on this event. We have limited seating. We only have space for about 150 people, and we want to invite moms, because we know that you can make the biggest impact on your family, because after all, you are the amazing moms that you are, and you're the caretakers of the family. So click on the button, get your ticket now, and we look forward to seeing you, so you can immediately integrate how to have a sustainable health, how to inspire your family to be healthy without feeling the overwhelm and the stress that you're under.